Let's move on now to this week's Great Britons. The construction industry. This shocked me. The construction industry has the highest suicide rate of any industry in the UK.
Building, obviously, the same as the UK, is going so quick. Money's coming in to develop our country, and our industry is booming. But when our industry booms like that, it comes at a price.
Hey, it's Kerry from Focus, and we have got a gentleman down today that has literally just been on a mission. So you'll find out more about that mission shortly. And just to give you some more clues about who it is, this guy is also connected to construction sports and a podcast called Back of the Van. So if you've not already guessed, we've got Steve Kerslake today.
Hello.
Are you all right?
Yes, good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be this far northwest.
Well, this far northwest. So where have you come from today?
Essex, down that way. So yeah, it's a fair trek, but I've got a few phone calls to make anyway, so I've kind of nipped it all in the bud on the way up here. I don't mind driving, so...
It's a good job, isn't it?
The world is... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The country is a small place, really, if you put in the grand scheme of things. So no, it's good. I've been very welcomed by this little number, so...
Yeah, you've got a best mate there, haven't you? Now, you know
have.
what they say about dogs, don't you?
They know good people.
Yeah, they do.
See?
And she's not left your side since you've been here.
Yeah, see?
And she doesn't look like she's about to.
She did do that for Rob Muldoon as well. Just,
No, she didn't,
Yeah,
just to make
she
that
was
clear.
in the corner at the door trying to get out.
Yeah, she did. She did a runner, but there we go.
No, thanks for having me. I'm looking
you're
forward
welcome.
to it. It's
So
a good
we've
opportunity.
just kind of bantered about missioning from Essex to Bolton. And you know what I'm going to come out with now? Because you've done a mission.
Yeah.
Like a big deal of a mission
It
recently.
was. Yes.
I'm going to let you tell me what it is.
Yeah, so pretty much actually, it was one of the ways I looked at this drive actually. I thought, what's 4 hours up here and 4 hours home in comparison to last week when we walked from Birmingham, Curzon Street to London Euston, what is the start and finish of, or either end of HS2, the first phase anyway. So myself and four other people, there was 5 of us who done the whole of it, and a support team intact. And yeah, we trekked over 3 days, 14 hours of walking, 4 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the evening. And yeah, we went across pretty much the whole route, followed HS2 along it. I think there was HS2 vans of any description, Balfour Beatty, Kias, FH, all those different companies along the way. They were literally around us the whole time because the project's so long. But yeah, it was a big 3 days. We'd done it in support of a friend that we lost in December, a good friend of construction sport and a close friend of mine. Yeah, and we went over 3 days. It was tough. It was physically very, very hard, but it's actually been mentally harder to get back in the game from. We had a good conversation with a few people about this, really, but it took us into some dark places. The pain you feel in your legs. Mine was like knees down into my shins and the bottom of my feet were in pieces. But then between my dark times, we're literally in the dark in the morning between 4 and 7 when pain was severe. Your painkiller popping pills. And all you're thinking of is I've got 12 hours more walking, and it was just kind of... But then the sun comes up, the frost was all set, and then you see the beautiful sunrise. We were blessed with blue skies the whole way.
You were lucky there.
Yeah, we had frost and blue sky for 3 days, so someone was looking down on us, and we managed to enjoy that really, and it was it was brilliant. I knew all the guys but one. We had a guy called Dave who's a chippy who came along as well, so all the guys had construction backgrounds. One of the guys was a scaffolder, and now he's turned fireman. What was brilliant because he had some real interesting stories. Dow, he's a good pal. And we all come together, and these guys didn't know each other from Adam, and I brought them together, including the two members of the media team and our driver as well, Craig, who's a good pal of mine. And it just showed what a bond can do over a couple of days when people actually start a relationship from scratch to put themselves through something like that. And day 3, they're shaking hands, they're best mates, and they've had each other's back for a few days. So, and you even saw that from even the support team as well, and a few people jumped at the end, like how big a part it played for them as well. Even though they weren't walking and going through that pain, they were there supporting us, and they were on that journey with us really. So I think that echoes. There was a lot of things echoed from what we'd done there into actual modern day life in terms of when things are low, they're really low, and when you're hurting. But then what you learn that's what I personally learned at 6 o'clock in the morning was, this is horrific, but my mates are around me, I'm going to carry on. So you just push and push and push.
I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
I can't. Tell us a bit about the actual walk itself. Did you walk on kind of the track?
Well, we did. There was parts of it we were told we may be able to if we go over the weekend, but we couldn't do it during the weekend, during the week. So we walked pretty much. If you said the route was a straight line, we kind of like expended across it all. I've done quite a few of them now, and I always used to Google Earth it and then literally map it out that way. But this is the first time I swapped it over with an Ordnance Survey map as well. So when it looked like we had a big road to follow or a big footpath with a bend in it, I got an Ordnance Survey map as we were walking, and I could literally map out a direct line through fields. And that was the best thing ever, because we then went through some really rural areas, what was literally, I'd say, frosted over. Sun was rising and sun was setting, and we were blessed with quite a lot of beautiful sky as well. So yeah, it was great. So we rotated around the project, basically, just kind of looped around it. Bon Appetit, the companies that supported us with it, they've got canteens on a lot of the sites along it, so we stopped at a lot of their sites and had lunch, and they laid on dinner for us.
That's all right, isn't it?
It was good, yeah. And Flannery's have got a hotel as well that they have for all their drivers. So then we went on the Sunday night before we started, we stayed there, and on the Monday night after day one we stayed there, and they put on dinner for us, and a couple of Guinnesses, so we couldn't complain. So yeah, it was unbelievable. I think we raised about $5,000 for the lad's family that we know, and one of the mates. He was a M&E engineer, and he passed away with leukemia in December, and he's 35 years old. He's left behind a wife and 2 kids. So we said, that what can we do? Put in a bit more funding. I think it was just over £50,000 raised for him before Christmas, and yeah, he's gone, but his bills haven't, unfortunately. He's got a wife and kids there, so we're going to carry on campaigning for him and doing what we can to support him and his kids for as long as we can, really. So yeah, it's good. It's been an experience. So this week has been tough. I literally have never had a wisdom tooth problem in my life either, but I think the fatigue and management, I literally, my wisdom tooth started pushing this week. Different things of the body is literally just can't quite get its head round. Like, it was like the only thing I can compare it to is a hangover off the back of a stag do, when it takes 5 or 6 days to actually get back in the game with age, and this has had the same toll on the body as that from a sober point of view. So it's literally been like having conversations with people, and you're thinking, this isn't going in. I'm right now, I'm fresh, but there's been a lot of it. I'm just thinking, I'm not fully here yet. And interesting, yeah, it was good. My wife said it as well. She was kind of like, why are you voluntarily putting yourself through this when I've had a checkered past in times, and when times were tough before, they weren't optional, they were just kind of things that I had to deal with, where this was completely optional. But we've gone through it, and we've come off it very strong, actually. So sky's the limit now. No more big walks, not for another 7 or 8 years, but yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
You might change your mind on that.
Never say never. Yeah, things can come up, things happen.
Something pops up, I reckon you'll do it.
Yeah, well,
I'm interested to know if you wore like a fitness watch when you did this walking.
Yes.
Because people watching this are going to be thinking things like, how many calories did he drop a day? How intense did he put his body through it? Yeah. Do you know the answer
so
to
I
that?
wore a Garmin that I wear full time, but I personally was about a stone or 2 heavier than all the other lads as well. So 15.5 stone shouldn't be carried over that distance. But I was burning about 8,500 calories a day. I think our moving time was about 12.5 hours each day, so I was having little rest. And then what was the other figure on there? There was a few other things on there. The resting heart rate didn't change too much, so it's fairly, I know, but yeah, it was interesting. You see the inclines and all that kind of stuff. But the hills weren't too bad, actually. Going up the hills I quite liked, as if I think it was the position of the foot could deal with it. Going down the hills when your feet kind of poke down, if you like, that was a killer. But you'll see a curb from like 10 yards away, and it'll be like a 4-inch curb, and you'll be thinking, oh, that looks like a hassle. And you literally fear these tiny little steps, and because your feet are just constantly on one level, and then as soon as you've got to move that after thousands of there was a step, I think it was on 85,000 steps a day as well, so 8,500 calories. And yeah, I think it was 85,000 steps. That was I'll get up at the snapshot, send it over of what it looks like. But yeah, it was round about 40 miles a day, give or take. I think I forgot to set my bloody Garmin up on the last day, but it worked out about 123, 125 miles over the 3 days. So they said HS2 is somewhere between 120 and 140. So we were in that threshold as such. So I was like,
I keep shaking my head like this when you're telling me, because I know how hard that is from a fitness point of view.
Yeah, and you can't really train for it either. That's the thing. What can you do? I've done quite a lot of marathon walks and stuff. I've never ran a marathon. And I know a lot of guys who have come on our walks with us who've done marathons, run them, and said walking them's harder. Cause it's
really?
Just, they've literally... One of the lads with us, we walked overnight to the Excel last year, and UK Construction Week, we opened that. And one of the guys, literally 11 miles in, was like, I'm not doing too bad here. And he's done 3 marathons, and in mile 13, he hit a wall and was like, I'm in pieces. But I think it's that just long. It's definitely a mind over matter game. I think everyone can do it. I'm a big believer in if you've got a certain level of fitness, anyone can go and do it, but it's whether your head can do it. I think that's where I think that's why we find it so interesting, and that's why they've become so popular with events that we do. And you see it, especially COVID, everyone's got to realise the big open outdoors is a great big playground really to go and enjoy it, and it helps your head. So yeah, it's going good. The plan is to have a couple of, probably one in the summer and one in the autumn of just a marathon. It's like between 10 and 12 hour day. You can plan that out.
Just a marathon.
It's
no big deal.
Yeah, half a marathons are good. Yeah, a good half day, but yeah, we're going to do it as a collective. We're quite, especially in the city in London, there's quite a big group of people we know now is coming together who are literally saying they were interested in doing one.
Where are you getting these people from?
All over. So who did we have last week? So one of the guys was Bristol, and then one of the lads, and then the rest. I think three of us out of the five were Essex, London, Bristol. But then some of the events, like we done a rugby match at Saracens Rugby Stadium last year. We hired the ground and we hired we had the rest of the big hall there, so we had a pre-lunch. But we had lads come down to represent construction rugby that was Bristol again, Birmingham, Northampton, quite a few Midlands places, obviously, Essex, Kent, Hertfordshire, all over. So we just go out there, so this is what we're doing, this is the day. Who wants to be involved? And we just had one guy actually up in Newcastle, ex-rugby, ex-professional rugby player. He's now in the construction sector, and he wants to be involved. I know I've been told of a few people up in Scotland who are ex-professional rugby players who want to be involved. So it's the whole country really. What's an absolute breath of fresh air. So we just had a meeting this morning with someone on the phone in North Wales. They've got a lot of keen golfers and stuff in their company. So the industry, what we're noticing and what we're trying to do in the message has easily gone across the whole country, but with the help of obviously social media and for the platforms we've put on, we've actually identified that this issue that we're finding ourselves in is worldwide. Yeah. And that is the crazy thing that we're realising, like the world is our oyster with this. I've got my best mate of mine is in Toronto, lives out there. I've got my ex-manager who's now in Melbourne, and I speak to them all the time, and they're like, Steve, this is here as well, like here and now. They're like, the stories that we're saying about people who don't come back to work on Monday morning are happening in every country. I put out a post about post-traumatic stress disorder in about a year ago, and we had a massive response from the Middle East. There was a number of people there, and the stories that we heard about, literally as severe as pretty much people falling into concrete, and concrete pours just remain in the poor because they can't afford to stop the concrete. And we had some really serious things, and I think once one or two people in that kind of area of the world picked it up, it obviously pushed a message around there. And we had, over the course of a couple of weeks, there was a big response from that part of the world. And I was like, God. And then that's when we really actually realised now that the world is our oyster with it, really. And we need to keep on pushing on and see where it goes. So I think we've done the one, unfortunately, with Ant Middleton, and he got involved. A little name drop at the end of last year. We've done a podcast with him, but he's got a big following in Australia off the back of his media. And then we had quite a lot of stories from over there in terms of we're getting no help, we're getting no support.
Yeah.
There's messages out there and media campaigns saying they're doing it, but ultimately it's not getting to the ground. And that's where I personally, like, I think my speciality, if we've got anything, is on the ground. That's where I'm from. My background is I'm a ground worker. I say ground worker by trade, but it's not even a trade, is it? You're just good at digging holes, and that is where my background was. And before I knew it, I was overseeing and managing quite a lot of people and briefing a lot of guys on the ground at an early age. And from that, and from my troubles in the past, that I realised there was a lot of people in the same boat, all different. I always say different boats, different. All this COVID thing come out like this. We're all in the same storm, just in different boats. And I always said that with the mental health side of things is we're all going through shit basically. Yeah. But no one is worse or better off than the other, because there's people unfortunately kill themselves for things that are petty, little tiny little things. You think, really, that can't be. I'm dealing with that every day in, day out. But for some people, it's the end of the world, literally. So we're in a position where we can just, if the people up in these senior places will listen to me, what is the truth, and it is the honest truth, and it is raw and it's brutal, but if they want to learn how to improve this industry, then they've got to listen to the people at the bottom, and at the moment they're not. So they're starting to, should we say. They are starting to. I've got no objections with speaking to anyone. I don't care what anyone's title is, they're just another human being to me. So and the ones who aren't doing it a bit need to have a look at their morals a little bit. So that's what it's a challenge then, and we like a challenge, don't we? Challenge makes the world go round.
Oh,
so.
it does, it does. And hopefully
Yeah.
that message is getting across to anyone watching as well. And to anyone watching, should we touch on construction sports?
Yeah, for sure.
Because some of the stuff you're talking about now, it's from this, isn't it?
Yeah, construction sport is the whole entity of it all, basically. That's where it all comes down to. Construction sport is now registered as a charity. The intentions were at the start not to be a charity, but we were kind of, with a lack of people listening, shall we say, we were forced to go down that route. Well, I was forced to go down that route. And I thought, if someone's going to listen to me, if we come from a charity angle, then they might. And then we did, and we spoke to a few people about it. And I got in touch with a few close contacts of mine, best mate of mine, Phil, and his sister Kerry, who are trustees in the charity. And Kerry, she said, we know what we're doing in this field, so we can help. And they got me through it, because, put it this way, a construction worker, a ground worker is not made to fill out paperwork what gets you a charity status.
Yeah.
That is a whole new level of English literature, that's for sure. So yeah, and they helped me get through it. We started off, we used to be called Let Off Steam, and that just kind of naturally progressed into what's now become construction sport, because it's a lot easier to explain what it's about. The whole idea of it, I wanted to, when I was 16, I signed up to join the Marines, the Royal Marines. I had this kind of push from my family, I suppose, or from my father's side, of going into the military in some capacity. And the idea was, 16, join the Marines. My dad was Royal Green Jackets. I think my granddad was in the Navy, so there was some element. I thought, I'm going to do that. But I love skiing. I skied since I was 10 years old, and done a few seasons away skiing in Austria for a few months at a time, and I loved it. And I come back from, and this world of skiing had showed me that I wanted to do something like that in the military. And at the time, Arctic warfare training was a big highlight on the careers advert, basically. So I went to the careers centre. I said, I've seen an advert on TV what says I can go to the army or the Navy, the Marines come under, and I can ski for a living. I was like, this sounds absolutely perfect. So I went in there, signed up, then I was kind of enrolled into a position where it was going to be Arctic warfare training. And then before I knew it, this was just post 9/11, and I was told pretty much that by someone I knew, so I went in for the same reason. And within 6 weeks, they were in Iraq, and I was put my hands up and openly admit I completely bottled it. And I was like, I don't want to go to the sand, I want the snow. I'm not going for the fighting, I want to ski. So I pulled away from that, and then that's when I actually went out to Austria and done one of the first seasons out there skiing. But yeah, from that just taught me that I then went over to the Austria and done it there, and that kind of taught me in a way that I don't ever want to work a day in my life that I don't enjoy. And from there, construction sport kind of, I suppose the idea of it and what it was about was what I've learned. I'll blabber on a bit, but what it kind of was is the military used sport in such a great way to attract people like me, the 16-year-old. Why can't construction do this? So the idea was from that angle of, why don't we create an organisation what promotes sport in our sector, what can literally, one, help mental health people easily, and two, it can encourage youngsters to come in. And there's two things that we massively are suffering with in the industry. To me, it's just an easy answer to say we can attract a lot of new people into our sector if we give them the opportunity to engage with sport in some capacity. I'm not saying they've got to go and play football Monday to Friday, but these people then become marketing tools. If you're working for, I don't know, one of these top companies, and suddenly you're a semi-professional footballer and you can represent your company in an organisation that promotes it in the sector you work in, then why wouldn't you? So, that's the idea with that side of it. Construction sport again was in 2016. I was working on Crossrail. I was on there for 4 years and come up with this idea of, I need to do something because my head's going to go bang soon. And I usually play rugby on Saturdays, and then the railway world was kind of a place where the weekends are gone. Like the railway, it chews people up and spits them back out, quite frankly. And working every Saturday, I noticed then that I needed rugby more than just for the physical side of it. I needed to literally run into things.
Yeah.
I need to
That's
get
your therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
And it is. There's something quite therapeutic about getting smashed in the face. And it's, I don't know what it is. And there's a few things in people in different sports, and the physicality side of it and throwing each other around and having a wrestle is the best thing since sliced bread, really. And when I was denied that, I could feel things going a little bit wrong in my own head. And then I went to the project directors or the project managers and kind of said, I've got this idea. I don't want to do a basic, usual kind of challenge. What every charity says you can do this or go and do this event. I said I'm going to set my own one up. I said no one's ever walked from the start to the finish of Crossrail or from end to end of Crossrail. I'm going to do that, and then I went with the same kind of theory that you do on golf days when you get different holes sponsored by different companies. I got every station along Crossrail sponsored by different companies, and within a couple of weeks we had, I think, £15,000 was raised for Macmillan. That was the charity of choice on the project, and all the money that we had from that all went towards that. All the overheads for the actual walk, the hotel costs, clothing costs, food, fuel. The support van, all those costs I just sent out to other companies and got them to cover it. So everything we then raised was just profit for the charity, really. So that had a massive, massive effect on the walk that we'd done. It was 100 miles, so it was a little bit shorter than last week's one. But it was 100 miles over 3 days. And it actually had a massive effect on all of us in a way. But there was 2 close stories that come out of that was very close to home from the guys I worked with. And I thought, I didn't realise how, but one of the boys had gone through a lot of stuff with his young boy, wasn't too well over the years, and day 3 he put his head down and just wanted to get it done. And at the finishing line, I just kind of said to him, he came over to me and just massively thanked me, and he's like, you don't realise what you've done. And I was like, Chris, we just had to walk for a few days. And he said, no, but you've given me this opportunity to clear my head. He said, I've literally had a lot of pressures of the work, the world that we work in, and then a lot of pressures at home with his boy who had been in and out of hospital for a few years. And he said, you've given me 3 days of literally just no pressure on my shoulder whatsoever. And that was obviously the difference between him going pop and him not going pop. So off the back of that, I then got to a point where I realised it's not just me, is it? I'm not the only one here. I went from them to a big Thames Water project, Kia's, Murphy's and AMK, that was known as. And I was briefing a good few hundred people each day on the area that I worked in. And then I just noticed that I would touch on a bit of my own story, and then everybody I spoke to was like, had something. And I was like, this whole 1 in 4 or whatever the stats is in this amount of people, I was like, this is bollocks, basically. This is 100%. I said, everyone out here, if they've not been hit by it yet, they're going to be hit by it eventually. And a lot of what I do and where my background was I suffered with post-traumatic stress disorder off the back of a sulfuric acid attack in 2008, and that pretty much led on to PTSD, and that then led on to I had ulcerative colitis of the stomach, and I lost my whole stomach.
Wow.
I had an ileostomy bag attached to me for just under 2 years. I had my stomach completely rebuilt over those 2 years, and then I was literally plumbed back in properly, and I was back in the game again. So, but that in itself, that whole story of that was what messed with my head massively over a few years, and then I'd just touch on little things, but then the guys on site would be like, there'd be guys from Eastern Europe who literally just have seen stuff over in that part of the world that you would never want to see. You'd see some guys ex-military who have literally come out of the army, come onto site, never been addressed what they've seen. And there's guys in the prison service who have been out for a few weeks, but they've had a life of crime and they've been raised in a bad background, and they've all gone through traumatic lives. And even just the Joe Blogg's kind of day-to-day guy is going to, if he hasn't seen something as well. And I always say that if you haven't witnessed or felt trauma before, you're going to one day, because we're not going to live forever. You're going to get a phone call one day and you're going to lose someone close to you. Yeah. It's the reality of the world, and it's shit, quite frankly. So you've got to prepare yourself for that, and we've got to be educated and shown. And there isn't one thing on the ground at the moment in terms of a collective from the industry what's there to educate people. I'm not just talking briefing. I'm saying, why isn't there something related to the CSCS card what says that you know how to fight, you know not to spray petrol onto a fire with this fire extinguisher, because that's pretty much a CSCS card, doesn't it? It just tells you what fire extinguisher to use. And why isn't that course or something like that? Or why aren't the CITB doing something where we say every single person in this industry who goes through that system, yes, you can have tradesmen who don't need CSCS cards, I get that. But if we start at the top and just get some level of education around that, this is trauma, this is what trauma is, this is what it's going to go. And we're not getting that. And we're seeing it day in, day out with people who are... I've worked with two guys in the past who only work nights because they can't sleep in the dark. They literally, and that is off the back of fatalities they've witnessed in the past.
Gosh.
And it was at nighttime fatalities, and they literally, the darkness is a trigger point for them, that they know they can only, they have to be up at working through it. They can't lay there on their own at night in the dark. And that's two guys who now live with that, and that is normal to them, and that is just the way the world is. They live like that as if it's the right thing. They're both granddads, these two guys, and I'm like, that isn't normal, and that isn't right. It's just like, but to them, it's just what you have to do to earn your bread and butter, really. And then you see it all the time. I've worked with military guys who literally have they have trigger words what are related to call signs, what have happened, and obviously in the Middle East. But they're words that we use every single day on construction sites, and nobody knows these. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and they don't say anything because they don't want to jeopardise their job. So our industry is riddled with people who are suffering with trauma, and there is nothing in place at all. And I will bash the drum with that until we see something what literally encompasses everyone, until the industry says that it's not acceptable, because it's not acceptable to the industry one day a year, or probably one day a week, and that sort of thing. These different campaigns on time to have an apple day or whatever it's called, sort of thing. It's just like, it's like, guess what? Tomorrow that person's still got that problem in their head.
It's not quite cutting it, is it?
It's not. No.
What can we do as an industry to? I know you've already got construction sports that in place. You've got a podcast that we'll speak about a bit later, and you do the charity stuff, highlighting all this to the industry. What can we do collectively as an industry to maybe try and battle this problem?
I believe it's got to, from what I get a lot of it in terms of, so what you're going to do to change this thing. Like, I'm just a ground worker. What the hell I don't have the power, and I don't have the know-how to fix this. But what I can say is it ain't right what we're working in. There's professional people out there that know how to deal with this stuff. There's professionals in the world of cultural change. There's professionals in terms of psychological treatment. The military have had it for over 100 years. They've been suffering with trauma or studying trauma. Now, we're unfortunately in a world where there's not much conflict personally for British soldiers going on. So why can't we use that industry, what they've got over there, all them studies they've done for 100 years? Because when those soldiers get blown up, as raw as it is, when they do get blown up, or when they do get something happens to them, guess what? It looks very similar, I've been told, and I don't want to say I'm not quoting this, but it's very similar to if someone hits a mains cable on a building site. It's the same thing that happens if you're at a gas main. It's the same thing that happens if a digger crushes someone. The stuff we witness on a construction site, I believe, and there's more of it than, fortunately, than what we're seeing in the Middle East in terms of what the figures, what we're out there. There's so much studying what's gone into how can we help these people in that military background to help them. Why can't we use that and encompass it? We're driving, I believe, a message into our industry of everybody needs to be taught how to become mental health first aiders. And guess what? There's a huge shortage at the moment on health and safety consultants in the workplace. They're getting smashed with this first. You've got to look after this. And no one's got enough time. There's so much pressure on us as an industry that now we're being told now to take on this role of being psychological carers as well. And we're not cut out for it. And I've seen a lot more danger come off the back of the way that it's been enrolled. I personally feel that whatever this strategy, what I don't think is a strategy, I think it's to throw mud and see what sticks, to put politely. I think it just all needs to be scrapped. And everyone just needs to put their hands up and say, we're in the shit, basically, because we are. And I've got absolutely no trouble with literally putting my hands up and saying what I've done in the past might not have worked, or if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Because I think it's like watching these MPs on TV and just saying, just put your hands up, man. Just say I've done wrong. You know, you've got Hancock going, oh, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. Just put your hands up, mate. It's just, you're wrong. You get a lot more respect from people if you just say, yeah, I messed up here. And let's just do that as an industry and go, there's another analogy I heard. The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago, but the best time is now. The second best time is now. It's like, this is the time for us to go, we've messed up. This isn't working. We've got a hell of a lot of lives that have gone because of this. We've got even more family members who are broken because of what we've denied people of a father, a mother, or whatever the relationship. We need to just literally say, this isn't going to be tolerated. I've spoke to the HSC before. They got in touch with me before our documentary went out. I said a few things they were interested in, a lot of our content, they said, of what we're doing, because it's straight to the point on the guys. They've since just got blanked just completely. So I don't know. I know they haven't got the budgets in place, but at the end of the day, my problem with the HSE side of it is as soon as Dave down the road stubs his toe and breaks his foot, they're straight on that firm and suing them straight away. And I've spoken with companies and all they said they get sued within no time. And it's like, you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong, you've breached health and safety regulations. But at the same time, 507 deaths was it from 2021? No one there has been held accountable for it. And I'm not saying let's go and hang all these businesses who are related to these guys, but it needs to be led by the top, because the pressure on everyone from below the top is too much. We haven't got time. I speak with companies all the time about what can be done. They speak to me about what can we do to help them, and it's just ultimately it comes down to we just haven't got the time. And I'm even saying like 5-a-side tournaments or football matches. When we do that, people say, Steve, so what? So if you come in, you're just going to put a football match together? I say, yeah, I can do. They said, well, why wouldn't we do that then? I'm like, well, you're not. And they're like, yeah, well, we just haven't got time. We haven't got someone to organise it, because they've just got too much pressure. And pressure is killing so many of us. One, through suicide, but two, just through general health as well. So I've lost a few people quite close to home really since just before Christmas, and all construction related. Directors of companies who's worked. One of the guys, Martin, was 35, and then another, an ex-manager of mine, Paul, was in his early 60s, worked his whole life pushing for retirement, never made it. And they both died of cancer.
Aww.
One died of bowel cancer, one died of leukemia. And when you look at it, I always look back and say, yeah, it is what it is. But there's so many cases of this, and heart attacks. I know guys have died of heart attacks. There was a guy died on HS2 a few weeks ago of a heart attack. There's brain tumours. We lost a guy in Crossrail with brain tumour, took him in no time whatsoever. And all these things, I'm not saying the root cause to their issues was stress, but stress causes these things. It's proven, science has proven it. If you go on Disney Plus and watch Chris Hemsworth's, there's a program called Limitless, a series called Limitless, 5-part, it's unbelievable. And what he says, and what they prove, and science, all that they just explain what science does to the body, and what stress does to the body, and what science has proven. You watch it, I come off the back of it, I was like, Christ, where is 507 kill himself, but how many people are we killing just by putting this stress on people? And you see it all the time, and especially in London. I've noticed there was one, I'm not sure if he was killed or not, there was a cyclist injured in London, and they turned back and literally, you looked at all the comments, and it was just hammering the lorry driver. The driver, he shouldn't be driving. These lorry drivers don't know how to do, they don't know this, they shouldn't be on the road at certain times. The only pressure, that driver's doing that job because money's coming in from whatever part of the world, and driving London to be this incredible city that it is. And it's been voted the best city in the world again, London has. But it comes at a cost. If you want to make things bigger and better as quick as you can, guess what? That involves pressure, and that unfortunately human error comes in that chain of command, and people get killed. It was without a shadow of doubt. So there's so much to it. I could ramble on for hours about it, but there's just, if we look at the bigger picture in terms of stress, isn't just killing people through suicide, it's killing people through multiple avenues. And we owe it to a hell of a lot of families. And we see it day in, day out, and it's just, to me, I've got a real issue with the fact that nothing is being done what really puts those families, if you stood those families in front of the powers that be and said, now answer some questions, you know what I mean? How would you answer this? I was at Martin's funeral in January. It was 400 or 500 people there, and it was just like, and a lot of it, he was a semi-professional footballer. He had a lot of footballing lads there. And it was a massive turnout, and then one of the uncles there read out a note from his boy, his 8-year-old boy, had written like a load of words and put them out, and it was tough. Even thinking about it now, but when you hear those words and you think, what is this industry doing to people, you know? And we're not turning around to people and saying, we're sorry, we can do things better. We're not even saying sorry. We just walked HS2 last week. High Speed 2, not interested in us whatsoever. The powers that be at all these projects, we've got a few shares from a couple of them here and there, but not one of them said, come in and tell us what you want to be doing. They're not acknowledge us. They welcomed us on site and done this and done that, but there's no one actually realised that, just saying that, can we sit down and have a chat with you about what the actual message is? It might be me. It might just be me. I don't know. That's absolutely fair enough. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but Flannery's and Bon Appetit, who sponsored us and funded us to do that last week, were absolute golden to us because they were proactive with it, and they did come. I'm not just saying this because they did, but they did. They watched the documentary that went out last year and said that we want to do something. What can we do? And I just proposed this, and they said, "How can we support you?" And they supported us to do it. And I was like, if everyone can take note from that, like, there's so many people out there. Obviously, like Rob has been on here, what Rob's doing, and Gavin with Band of Builders stuff. There's so many golden eggs out there of people who are trying to do stuff off pretty much zero input funding wise. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. We're supported. I've got my own construction business as well, and that ultimately funds me. And all the money we raised last week, 100% of that goes to the beneficiary, what is Martin. And then we have some overhead costs that get covered by the companies that sponsor the event. But there's so many. The answer to all these problems, you go through Instagram, there's so many good blokes and they're doing things, and they're doing it, like I say, out of the goodness of their heart. And the people who are being funded to do stuff across this industry, we'll say no more. Yeah, it's just like...
Do you know what? I've interviewed 3 of you now about this exact topic.
Yeah.
And you're all kind of banging your head on the same brick wall. You really are. You're singing the same tune. So if we could shake people in organisations, who would them people be? Are we talking at the top of the chain? That's who they need to sit back and listen.
Yeah.
Who are these people that need to listen to this?
It's all of it in a way. We've spoken to a few people this week, what's been quite interesting. But it's got to start. The HSC needs the pressure on them. I think they need... I know they're saying they haven't got the people there and whatever, but if 25 blokes were killed last week because they wasn't seen in the dark, every night shift in the UK would be stopped, and everyone would be made to wear head torches. It's as simple as that. If everyone broke their foot on a building site, if 500 people broke their feet last year, they would stop every job, bring everyone's toe caps in, and make a change. And it's just that kind of stuff, and that stuff does not change unless the HSC, I believe, doesn't change. And I know that it takes government funding to the HSC, or I don't think they're government funded now, I think they're privately funded. But it's the same as PPE years ago. Like, people would have looked at projects in the 80s and said that you're now going to have, I don't know, 2-part handrails and scaffolding or whatever you call it, or kicker boards on certain platforms. You're going to have high-vis jackets, you're going to have gloves, you're going to have goggles, you're going to have helmets, full-length shirts, PPE, full trousers. People in the 80s would have gone, that will never work. That's going to cost fortunes. That will never work. We'd never be able to do it. It won't happen. Once all the negative press and obviously all the media and the statistics come out about how many people were getting killed on projects, guess what? The HSC changed how they approach it. Everybody had to listen. Projects had to allow for time and costs for all this temporary works that goes into stuff, for PPE that needs to be brought into it, into safe procedures. Companies had to go to that, and because everybody was in the same boat with it, it worked. So everyone's tendering for the same things. So everyone's prices justify what that is, and the funding that's been put down will cover those costs. So in terms of mental health, I like to think in 20 years' time we'll be here as we are looking back on PPE 20 years ago and go, "God, remember 20 years ago when there was no, I'm not sure what it'll be, but there was no programme allowance for us to support our workforce. How the hell did we even do that?" And now we literally look at the culture we've built by supporting people. And with it as well, you support people, you do build a decent culture in your company. And I'm no culture expert. I just like having a laugh with people. So if you're going to work with me, we're having a laugh. If you don't have a laugh, you can go join another firm. So, but then that always to me gets me working with good people, and then we end up delivering. And then guess what? The company wants us on the job longer, or the company want us there. And that is what I think, in terms of retaining staff, you're going to retain a lot more staff if you're looking after people. So it might come at a cost at first, but you'll justify that in 6 weeks' time when the project finishes. Then they say, "Can we come to the next one with you?" And you realise, I'm going to go look for people again, train people up, and all that stuff. So yeah, my bugbear is literally with the very, very top, in terms of saying that it's got to change. How can you justify there's like 507 people killed or whatever, and like killing themselves, and it's just like, what number does that need to hit? Why can't every tier 1 contractor in the UK be told stop works, like, for a day? It's going to cost money, it will, but guess what? So does killing people. It costs a lot more for people when these people kill themselves in terms of production. why can't there be this massive stand down? What just says, nah, this has got to stop. The senior body, I always think there's too many organisations at the top at the moment. There's nothing what oversees it. The CSCS scheme, obviously they're doing the CITB, they do what they do, but look at the CSCS scheme at the moment. That's completely, absolutely up in the air at the moment with what they're saying now. Anybody with certain grandfather rights, it goes null and void in the next few years, or at the end of this year.
They've completely changed everything about it, haven't they?
I'm trying to work out. I'm still trying to work out the CSCS scheme in general. I've worked in the industry for 15 years. I haven't got a clue how it works. And this is a bit a funny one for you, actually. This is the CSCS scheme for you. I've not had a card, CSCS card, for 10 years. I've worked on construction sites since. I've worked on tier 1 projects. I've worked on Crossrail. I've worked on Thames Water Project. They're probably going to ban me from their sites for saying this. But I went in there.
Here we go.
Yeah, I went in there and literally, in 2008, so just post operations that I had on my stomach. 2012, post operations, I was working on site and I couldn't actually physically work properly because the stomach, I God knows how many staples up and down. I was open up like a bloody cushion. And then I went onto site and fortunately, actually, poor bugger, one of the guys who passed away in December, he was the guy that she said to me, Steve, I'll put you for your supervisor's ticket. He said, you're good with your mouth, you can chat the game, so you come on. I'm a son of a cab driver, basically, a black cab driver, so we're born to chat crap, shall we say. And he said, I need you on site just to come on. I know your work ethic's there. I don't want to lose you. So I was 21 years old. I got put forward my site supervisor's tickets. So I got a trainee card, CSCS card, trainee site management card. Anyway, I just went with that, and he said, now I've got to do the MVQ thing. So I looked at the MVQ thing, and it was going to take a good few months and that. I don't like school, didn't like classrooms, and I don't like paperwork too much. I just want to crack on. And I ended up just not even pushing through the MVQ route. So I then went and got my SMSTS done. So I had to triple STS, and then a few years after my SMSTS. In that time, they said the only way I can change that card is do the MVQ thing. So I went, I don't want to do the MVQ thing. But I just generally, probably my own knowledge, I was like, I'm not clued up in that way to go through all this paperwork. I don't understand it. I'm a freelance worker, in a way, self-employed. So I never went that route. But then what I did have was my CSCS test, touchscreen test, was up to date. And then they brought out this thing online that when my card expired, and I rung up and said, that, can I renew my card, please? They said, you can't renew your card until you do your MVQ. I went, okay, but that's going to take me 6 months to a year. Yeah, I said, am I jobless then? What can I do? My card's lapsed and I need a new card, and you're saying I can't get one unless I do this 6 month minimum MVQ thing. And they went, yeah, no, you can't get a new one. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I was on a project for a while then anyway. And I don't like being told what to do, put it that way. I asked my wife that, and it's kind of in my own stubborn way, I was like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. I'm not being forced to something I want to do. I'm doing my job more than sufficient here. Everyone likes me on site. I'll get on with everyone. We're delivering a job. I haven't got time to go out my way. I'm not going to be paid to go and do that. I know long term it's the right thing. And a lot of the boys out there have got the cards, fair play to you. And then once the card ran, I then went on to another project. And they said, Steve, have you got a CSCS card? And the induction on Crossrail, actually. On the induction on Crossrail, they said, have you got a CSCS card? I said, yeah, I've got it. I said, I'm up to date with my touchscreen test. I'm also up to date with my SMSTS. And I've also got my my emergency first aid at work, got that. And a few other tickets. So I've got them all, I just haven't got the card. They said, well, you need the card. I said, well, funny enough, now you can check online to see if I've done the test. So they went online, were like, yeah, it shows on there, you got it. I was like, yeah, perfect, no worries, come on. That was the next 5 years of my life sorted out. Just went for the whole project, didn't have a card. I went to another job then with Thames Water, same on there. They said, have you got a card? I said, no, I haven't got one, they won't let me have one. So they went, okay, I said, you can do the card checker online. They done it, I went, okay, no worries, crack on. So then I'm thinking, what the hell was this card for if I don't need it? Why have I been told? And to this day, I haven't got any answers for that. And there's so many people I speak to as well. I've got my own team of guys who work for me, and we were trying to get our heads around it last week. One of the boys he's got his CSCS card of some description, and he just needs to renew it, and he needs to do a 1 day MVQ or something. Couldn't work it out. I spoke to a project manager who was with me last week on the walk. He's been in the industry for 20 odd years. He can't get his head around it. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing, Steve. He's like, I'm project manager. He said, no, I can't get my head around it.
Think how many other people are sat here thinking that or listening
Yeah.
now going, I've done like...
Yeah, so I had 2 guys come out of the prison service, and I got someone that touched me from, it was actually through Saracens Rugby Club. They got a prison campaign, and these 2 guys come out and they said, Steve, they want to get them into construction. Could you help? I said, yeah, no worries. I said, when do they come out? I gave them the day, and I think within the middle of the prison world, it's kind of, there's a 72-hour window to capture these people and help them. If you miss that 72 hours, the statistics show there's a real high chance they're going to end up in crime, and that's where they'll find their cash, basically. We got the guys on their CSCS cards straight away. They come out of the prison service. I think they had one night, so they got their head down, and then the morning after, I got them into a CSCS test. One of them passed it, was fine. He got himself sorted out. He actually, he went and got, I think he actually got picked up. Funny enough, he got that, and he got he picked up a job opportunity for the careers office with Network Rail as an engineer. So the construction industry missed him. Network Rail got him. You know what I mean? It's like, we done here. So we missed one there, and then the other lad, he lost. He failed by 1 point. I think it's out of 90, is it, or something like that, 90 odd or 80 odd. And so the pass mark was 80. He got 79. And then he was in a position. He was in there in the call centre. He said, "Steve, I failed it," and he was really pissed off with himself. And I was like, "Mate," I said, "it's all part of life. You win some, you lose some. Let's do it again." I said, "Can you speak to the lady there when you can get booked in again? See if you can do it this afternoon. Just get booked back on because it's fresh in your mind. You know where you've gone wrong. You can correct yourself." And they said, "No, you can't go back for another week. You have to have a week away minimum, and you can't book on." And I was like, "That is so wrong." I think he got himself sorted out in the end off the back of that. But I was like, "Why? You've just denied this guy. Surely, based on all right, he's not no golden child. He's just come out of prison. But surely there can be something there to say that this is a potential vulnerable person who needs this. Like he needs that money. Like he needs money to work, and he can't work without that test. He just missed out by 1 point. What harm is it going to do if you literally just say that?" The railway's good for it, to be honest. I've done it. I'm not sure if a few people might disagree with it, say, no, that's not how it's supposed to be done. But sometimes they with the written tests and stuff, they'll go, "Steve, you've put this answer to this. Have a little think about it." And you go, actually, you correct yourself, and they'll help you out. Like at the end, with a bit of respect, but not taking the piss. But and that was really good, and I could see that. But this CSCS system is clearly a money-making scam as well. We spoke to a lot of colleges as well recently, and these college students can't work it out. They don't know how to do it, and they haven't got anyone in them colleges to help them through it because the guys lecturing them aren't there to teach them how to do a CSCS test. They're there to teach them their trades, and we're missing out on so many people in the college system because Network Rail, TfL. They've made their engineering apprenticeships and these degrees that they do, or these college courses, really, really easy for them. So all these lads are going, they're learning to become sparkies, chippies, painters, decorators. They haven't got a network in construction or anyone they know, and they're not too sure. So they walk into the job centre and they go to an apprenticeship with the TfL. They go, "Yeah, okay," bang, straight in there.
Wow.
And we're losing, I reckon, thousands. So we look over the whole country, we must be losing out so many people.
That's a problem.
Huge problem.
Especially with the ones in college.
Yeah.
They're so young.
Yeah.
Once you get them on the career track, the path that they're going to do, they tend to stay on it. Well, hopefully they do.
Yeah, that's it. And so many of them as well, because you get like your posh tradesmen, your plumbers, your electricians, and your electrician plumbers. Yeah, and that's the other one now. I'm trying to think now. But then you get the people like me and Rob, with bricklayers and ground workers. We're at the bottom of the chain. Will be those ones. But though there was painters and decorators, ground workers and bricklayers, I think it was. Those three, bricklayers might even got into the tradesman one actually with plumbers, and us at the bottom there were people who aren't academic in any way. There's a place from there. I spoke to a few of them, and I was like, "What do you do between Monday and Friday?" And so we do Monday to Wednesday in the college. So what do you do Thursday, Friday? Nothing. I said, "Have you got a job?" "No, I can't find anything. I don't know." I said, "Would you take going in as a labourer doing something else?" "I'll take anything if I can just get money for it." So I don't mind what I do. And then I was in my head, I was like, I made a few phone calls to a few projects around my way, and we're dealing with it at the moment actually. And I said, if I said to you, I've got the number of college students coming to you to work on site, just general dogs' bodies on ground, literally helping shift stuff around, labouring, doing anything, on Thursdays and Fridays, would you have them? They went, yeah, straight away. I mean, there's just no one there connecting the two.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll bring the van to the college on Thursday morning, lads. So I'll bring the van and we'll get you to the site. And that's what we're looking at doing now. What there is there at the moment, again, controversial, but there is so many organisations saying they're doing things with these colleges. It looks brilliant. It looks very pretty and sparkly on LinkedIn. And they're not seeing it through. They're going in there going, we do this on this project, we've done that, we're doing this in your area. And they go back and they disappear, and these lads and ladies are literally left with nothing. And it's just like, there's too many money pinchers in the middle sort of thing. And we can get these college kids in there, but what we'll do, we'll stick them through some kind of course that they don't really need, but we get X amount back from the government for that, so we get them through that. And then by the time the general people genuinely want to put these guys to work, they don't get to work, and guess what? They get wrapped up in crime, or they get wrapped up in another industry, basically. So when people say, "Oh, we need to look at ways that we can find all this labour shortage and how we can support it, and we need to go overseas to find people," I'm like, "You're not. They're on their bloody doorstep, man." You know what I mean?
There's things in place, and it's just not following them through, are they?
And it all just comes down to just human interaction, communication. At the end of the day, if you've got people who can go into these colleges and be on the same wavelength. And similar to myself, again, Gavin and Rob and all these boys are all pushing. If you've got people in there who literally go, look, we can help you out here. I've got people with our phone, but I say straight away, people say, we'll have them. Yes, we've got to find the ones with a work ethic, and that's a whole new story in terms of what this generation, the next generation are wanting. But I don't think there's any generation that's not had the trouble with people with work ethic. You're always going to get them, but there's some absolute diamonds in there. Like I say, if all these people in there, you go into a college, and I literally put my mind to it. You could go into a college, you get these kids, and you could say to them, "You'll be earning £1,000 a week within 6 months." No doubt about it. We could easily make that happen. I've seen them. I know the money was being earned in this industry. If you say that to a kid, guess his work ethic would go up a little bit. But at the moment, it's going. What we do, we put you on an apprenticeship, and we'll pay you £2.50 a day or whatever, ridiculous money that they're paying, and it's no good. But if you say to people, look, in a way, I think that's where the apprenticeship side of it needs to change, because I've had ground workers work with me who've sacked off apprenticeships because there's no point. Why am I going to go to an apprenticeship where I could come on site and earn 2 or 3 times that money in the same day and just go that way? So this guy who's going to be an electrician or a plumber or something ends up being a decent ground worker in the end because he earns good money. And our industry, I think, very much looks at these people on the tools and doesn't actually realise the opportunities that are there. But we don't do enough in terms of promoting it, and that's hats off to yourself. And what we're all trying to do on the media side of it is just showcase just how good this sector is. That's like all the bugbears and all the problems of it is purely because I care about the industry, and I'm hugely passionate about it. I love it to pieces. I think it gives us so many great opportunities, just literally personally and for families and for careers and all that. But we just don't showcase it. The two things we highlight the hell out of in this sector, and I've said this for years, is how many people kill themselves and how many people we're missing in the industry. We can't get them in. I'm like, those two things together aren't the best marketing campaign, are they?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So if we put our hands up, fix the amount of people killing themselves, and then start allowing the cameras, like you guys are, into this sector, we can show next generation of how good it is. Because you can't see nothing, can you? I mean, we go on sites, you put it out yourself, we're breaking the barriers a bit now, purely because we just don't ask for permission. We just put the footage out anyway, and then people say thank you. Comms teams, they literally just getting away with everything. They just, every project I go on, they say we're going to put this to our comms team. I go, no worries, I'll send it over to you. I don't, and we put it out, and they come back and say thank you. But I get it. There's people out there obviously showcasing stuff or putting stuff online, and it scares the hell out of comms teams, where they're like, oh, we can't show that wrong, or we can't say that right. But there's so much good work that goes on. You think kids are. My boy's 4 years old now, nearly 5, and I imagine for a couple more years, he loves diggers, he loves cranes, he loves seeing stuff being smashed up, he loves construction stuff. They're born with this natural love for our industry already, and we just let that fall away and let that then to be turned into a stigmaed industry that is only for people who have failed life. Like, yeah, construction, you got nothing, you can go into construction. It's like, hang on a sec, that kid was born loving this industry before anyone even put it in front of him.
Yeah.
So why can't we harness that? And I think that, again, is a case of us getting into these schools, primary schools and through senior schools and showcase. I'm hoping that's what with construction sport we can do and show that we're playing at London Irish's training centre. I've got a rugby match. We're speaking with QPR Football Club at the moment about a football match. We're playing at Leicester Tigers Stadium in the winter, playing rugby there. We want some kids to literally be thinking, oh, I love golf or I love rugby. If I go into that industry, they don't give me those opportunities to play sport. If I go into construction, there's that construction sport bunch. I can get associated with them, and that will win people over. It would have won me over in 2016, or whatever it was, not 2016, 2008 to 2006, sorry. So if we make this industry look good and act good, then it'll be sorted.
Hopefully.
Retire.
Sport is such a good topic as well. I'm into sport myself, so I can talk with knowledge on sport.
Martial arts, you do, don't you?
It is, yeah. So don't start.
Yes.
Don't you start.
I've got nothing. After last week, I've got nothing.
I bet you've not. So sport, it can give people so many kind of different things that they can take away. It gives them sense of being part of something.
Yeah.
If they're part of a team, sense of achievement.
Yeah.
It helps their health in terms of the physical health as well as the mental health, but there is a strong physical connection with health and sport.
Yeah, 100%.
So for me, I don't see any negatives in it at all. And when you're talking sport, it's not just like you were saying before, it's not just football, it's not just rugby. There's so many things that come under sport too.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's something that appeals to everyone.
Yeah, it's just about harnessing people's, even off the sports side as well, just harnessing people's hobbies and passions, isn't it? What people like doing. Yeah, we noticed it before as well. Especially that was where it really come on, because I looked in the rugby world alone. Saracens Rugby Club got in touch with us about an exhibition that we were at. And I was like, why are you interested in what we're doing at a construction exhibition? And they said 35% of their revenue at that time was built on hospitality and corporate sponsorship and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I went across every main page, the home page of every rugby club in the English Premiership, Rugby Union. And every single one of them had some kind of construction company on that front page. Literally, bang, it was on the shirt or on the sponsorship boards or anywhere. Every industry. And you look across the football world now, you watch the football matches, there's most of them, well, politically, is so wrong, I think morally wrong, but a lot of them is these betting agencies and all that kind of stuff, but that's a whole other topic. But construction's love for sport is already there, and we're investing so much money into professional sport at grassroots level to professional level. Like every local football team on the weekends always sponsored by the local plasterer or the local bricklayer. And there's so much passion for it, and our industry's so good at supporting them on the outside of a building site. So it's like, why don't we harness this passion for sport and bring it in? Because it literally saves people's lives.
That'd be refreshing, wouldn't it? How many directors' offices do you walk into and they've got memorabilia on the wall?
Oh, every single one. Yeah.
It
all
is,
of them.
isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. There's always something. Even if it's a putter or a golf club in the corner, just sitting there and they putt a ball across the room. Yeah, there is boxing gloves. They've got an auction or signed shirts, and yeah, they've all got it. Every single one, or someone with that. There's people in these businesses. We're all. I think, especially the world we live in, especially it's kind of the weekend, especially construction workers. They live for the sport of the weekend, and even if they can't play it because their knees are shot to bits. I said this to a few lads down our way. I said that they've got season tickets at like professional clubs. Now we don't believe in this mental health crap. We don't believe I don't need therapy or this and that. And I said, well, what if I took your season ticket away from you? And I'd go mad. I'm like, that is your therapy. You go and watch West Ham. I know that could probably do a lot of people a lot more harm than good, but that to them was like their therapy. Like that, you got to realise that is what you do. And what I was taught when we spoke about before is it teaches you to shut off, and everything in the world disappears for that period of time. Yeah, it comes back when you stop, and it don't disappear and sort itself out. But when you can, and that's what these walks I think do, when you allow your brain just to stop thinking about something just for a short period of time. I always get that in rugby. I was like, well, suddenly when you've got, and you probably got the martial arts side of it, when you've got someone in front of you who's about to kick you in the head or something like that, or someone's about to run over you, guess what? All the problems in the world disappear for a short period of time.
It's all right.
And you focus on the here and now. And that brief period of time, whether you like it that you're about to get crushed is about to happen, guess what? All those financial pressures, all that job pressure, all that family pressure, personal, whatever, business pressure, it all just, I think your body just, in a way, I'm sure there's some science behind it, we can prove it, but it just gives you a minute just to go again, you know what I mean?
It does.
That's literally one of my favourite words. I always say it when I'm playing rugby, and I think I said it on literally last week, I said, lads, and we go again, and we go again, you know what I mean? Just keep on pushing, but you've got to do it, enjoy it, take a breath, and then go again, you know what I mean? I always say it, it's been a big, I've heard it a lot in the rugby world, I go, lads, we go again, come on, and push, and then we stop, and we pause, and then we go again, but that's the best thing as well, and I think that's probably where, I think even with construction sport as the challenge of what it's been all these years, because what we're doing is the challenge. I look at it from a sports background as well. I operate best on a rugby field once I get smacked in the face. It's one of those. As soon as you get, you probably got the same. As soon as you get smacked in the face, guess what? You focus a bit more.
Yep.
You go, right.
People's faces change.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this has got to see. It's game on now. So and I think that's what I've liked. The challenge of construction sport over the last 6 years is, I've gone into offices and I've been knocked back and I've been told that's a rubbish idea and it will never work. You'll never get the big boys to look at this. No one would ever change. And then I just go, right, game on. We go again.
It does. And I'll tell you what else sport does. It puts things into perspective as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
like you say, it gives you a bit of a respite from maybe financial worries, any worries about work-related topics.
Yeah.
And then things might not seem as kind of heavy once you've stepped out of it and then come back in.
Yeah.
That's why it works for me anyway.
100%. Yeah, it just gives you a rethink, doesn't it? I think it must just
things don't seem as
in your
serious
brain.
as well. Once you push yourself to that limit.
Yeah. Well, we get it, especially on the walks as well. We had plenty of time to talk last week, but on other walks we've done as well, that someone will be literally like, this is so good, and then you don't even talk. I'm not even one to say it's time to talk, all that campaign stuff, or you must talk and all this. I'm like, you don't need to. You just need somewhere an opportunity just to breath of fresh air. To me, that's what I know. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but my theory is like, we go on these walks and I don't push for it at all, but people naturally just talk, and you just pick up on little things and you go, I'm not the only one in the world, am I? I'm not the only one here. And then you did. We had it last week. We had every walk we do. As the miles keep going, people talk a bit more and they open up about a few things, but not because they've been asked to, just because they feel comfortable to have a chat. If you create an environment where people feel comfortable at work or outside of work or in any world, I think you'll just get the best out of people. Yeah. So the people whose backs are up, that's the funniest one. Is you get these people snap at you and their backs are up, and then within no time, or they're the first ones to go, I'm having loads of problems. I'm going to tell you.
They want to say something, don't they?
100%.
That's why they're so stressed
and their backs up, they're negative about it. And I had one at the start of the year actually on a site that we spoke to. He made a comment straight away, and I could have put money on it there, and then I went, he'll be speaking straight after. And he was straight up.
It's funny how you can pick them out, isn't it?
Oh, so easy. Yeah, it's so easy. And like I said, the boys will go around the country speaking on these sites and that. It's so obvious. They're the same ones in every project. And then you get the ones who are quite quiet and have just come up to you just for a general chat, and you know that they've been there before and they've got through and they're doing it right. And you get the same characters in every building site. I think that's the challenge of it. And it's the best industry in the world, and it's full of people who are literally the salt of the earth. And it's just, you know where you stand. What industry can you go into? I'd imagine that you're governed by people can't say this or can't say that. On construction sites, I'm all for it. I love the best stick. I'm all for it. But I know banter's a word that's probably been trying to get cancelled in a few years, but banter's got me through it, that's for sure. I understand that there's a line between banter and bullying, but there's a line there. Banter isn't bullying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen loads of it when we're on site shooting. Obviously, we edit that out of a lot of the corporate videos, but it's all very nice and it should be there. And you can see it lights people's faces up. Yeah,
100%.
They're waiting, aren't they, for the next thing to throw at someone, and that's what gets them through the day.
100%. And I literally, when I rung up just now I rung up Rob and said I'm on the way up here to see yourself straight away, and so straight away there's this kind of north and south kind of bit of banter between us. It's good fun. I told him I put on a northern accent in the petrol garage, so I wasn't found out straight away.
Got to try and do one now.
Yeah,
go on.
I don't show off. And then I get to see his Rob's coloured pillows as well. Like, he's
He'll
camouflage.
kill you.
You're camouflage on that sofa.
Speaking of characters, personalities, and the word banter, that brings me on to your podcast.
Yeah.
So I've got the best accent in the world to say what it's called.
Yeah.
It's back at van.
Back at
the van.
back of
If
the
it,
van.
if it was Bolter, it was
I suppose
back at van.
It's probably the closest thing. Yeah, it's probably my dad's influence really, a bit of the Cockney influence of back of the van. The
Is that how you're supposed to say it?
back of the van.
Is that it?
Yeah. So I think because even when it says it on there, I just said that tongue in cheek, and Alex, the guy who does our media, just clipped it out, and then he has it on there. And we spoke to Bon Appetit in December when they got in touch with us. And I said that I'm speaking with Flannery's as well about doing this trek of HS2, and the idea of it would be we'd do it and the trek's in, but in and around that, I'd like to do some kind of campaign where we kind of go and speak on sites and that, or just engage on sites more than anything, get people having a laugh. And I said it'd be quite fun actually if we literally had a van where we literally just got people in it and just had made it like a mini little podcast studio. And then and there was always been cool. I was like, I'll be back in the van podcast, and it was just kind of tongue in cheek said it. And then the girls at Bon Appetit, she said, Steve, we've got the back of the van podcast van sorted. And I was like, okay, we're done. Love it. And it's simple as that. And we went out. I'm not really sure how that'll run for. To be honest, I've got a few thoughts in my head. It might run a little bit longer than we think it's going to. I love, in a way, just, I don't say no to anything. I do say to a few things now because it is just getting a bit too busy. But if someone's got an idea, just run with it, because guess what? If it doesn't work, you learn from it, don't you? And that's just one of those. And I always go along with the theory that I can't look as big a prick as I've done in the past, so I must be fine.
And people like watching that anyway, so you're all right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What I found it really easy. I just find it easy. I just feel like, yeah, they're cameras, but it's just a lump of plastic in a way, isn't it? And like a bit of glass. That's all it is. And just have a laugh, and we do have a laugh, and that's what it's all about. And then people seem to like that, and I think that's the whole thing with it. And we've gone through, going across a few sites. We've got to pick a few people up next week in the van. It's actually, the battery's dead at my house. I started it, wouldn't start last night, it wouldn't start, so I'll be jumping that when I get back tonight. And they get up and running. But so I've got a few people in there. We're trying to get people from the ground and also from all levels of the industry, really. I'm not scared or worried about trying to put anyone in the back of the van. So, I think it was kind of sounds like some kind of bank job being done as well, doesn't it? So, get in the back of the van. As if we're kidnapping someone, really, doesn't it? So, I'm not sure.
That's kind of what you're doing. You're kidnapping them for a little bit.
There was a few comments of what we can say to say, get out of the fucking van. All this, we said, no, let's cut the swearing out a little bit. We swear a lot on site, but we try not to swear too much. So we've got a few people in there. We had scaffolders last week. Paul Casey, one of the companies that supports us. John Houlihan, he's just a big health and safety guy in the construction world, the scaffolding world. He's just come out as well. Really interesting, John's one. John has played a big part in some serious incidents, health and safety investigation stuff. And that kind of, we speak about that, was quite interesting. And it's kind of, I go in there, I don't have any script, or a lot of time we go on sites I don't know I'm going to interview or anything like that, so just jump in and let's have just a general chit chat. And a few people say it's nice, they find it easy conversation, and I don't put pressure on anyone really, so it's just, don't take life too serious, isn't it?
I think that's why people watch it.
Yeah.
I really do, because it is you and it is them.
Yeah.
There's no script, like you say.
Yeah.
And you ask what you want to ask, and
Yeah.
I can't see you holding back. If you've got something to ask, I reckon you're just going to do that.
Definitely, and that I like the idea of it as well. I'm quite I reckon there's quite a few senior people in the industry at these top places who'd probably say no to coming in, because I'd probably just ask it. Well, you can see it, can't you? When you get people in, you go, come on, just give us your honest answer. Stop hiding behind your corporate banner. Just say what you think. But then I go, you go, just say it, man. You know what I mean? And that is easy to spot, and I find that quite funny. You can play on that then, can't you?
Once you've got them when that camera's rolling.
Yeah, terrorise them. So but fortunately, that's with what we've got and the way that we're doing it. We're not filtered. It's very much the truth, and unfortunately, it's the truth. And so it's got to come across raw, and it's got to come across real, really. So we've got one coming out next week actually with Dow, who's our resident fireman down our way, who came on our walk last week. That's a really interesting one, because I've got this, I say, based on the whole trauma side of things. I might have said this already actually, but the way the tip sheet a fireman gets when he goes to a trauma or something traumatic, when he's going to a call out as such, he'll be given a tip sheet what will say, this is what you're going to see. There's a machine's crushed someone. This is a site, the man is still crushed. This is a situation, breathing, blah, 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 all this. So they can adapt their heads to understand that they go into this scene, and they can, in a way, prepare themselves. And they kind of get that. The police force, he said the same. Military, you're going to war. I know it's a whole different world, but in a way, if you go into war, there's an element of you're going to see some stuff you don't want. And yeah, it affects everyone in different ways. But he said construction workers, and he knows this literally from first-hand experience of going to call out some construction projects, and he said to me, I always found interesting, he said, don't think that we're prepared for this better. He said, you guys shouldn't be seeing this. He said, you're not prepared for this. And this is where I go back to the educating people about trauma, but he's like, you shouldn't be seeing people crushed to death. You shouldn't be seeing people electrocuted to death. You are there to build something and deliver it. So when these things happen, and they happen literally in a split second, you have no preparation for that. You've got no understanding, you've got no education on what's just happened. And then before you know it, you've got this vision in your head that you just can't shake off.
Oh,
and it haunts you. We had it, and it's in every single site. And I always got it literally with I suffered the PTSD off the back of the acid stuff and all blah, blah, blah. And what it actually was as well that I noticed, it didn't affect me, but I could always see it. But we witnessed we saw the back end, well, it was the front end of a train on a rail project after a fatality, and we were told don't look at it. And guess what? It's like the "Don't Walk By" campaign in construction was a complete foul, because as soon as you say, "Man, don't," they do.
Yeah.
Human nature is to do. So there's 6 or 7 of us saw this, and then when I went to Crossrail, then we were in a bit of a hotbed area for us people who jumped, and every single week we'd go out and say, lads, can't get on site today, there's been another jumper, you can't do this, and then another jumper. Every time they said that, I flicked back to that day that we saw what we saw, and it was kind of and not once did anybody on any of these big major projects, multi-million-pound, billion-pound projects, not once did anyone come and say, lads, we're doing a day today where we just want to give a bit of a psychological assessment on what you've seen on this project. There wasn't one, not one day. And that's another one. That's a new one. Can there be a stand down day for every site where people do get some kind of psychological assessment? The money's there already. You see what money's being pumped into these projects. Not everyone's going to say, yeah, I'm going to do it. Not everyone's going to say, you could make it a mandatory thing. If you don't want it, it don't work. Simple as that. I'm sure people will, but what you will get is you will get 1 or 2 people that it will really, really help, who may not have realised they needed it. So, yeah, it's a good round table one, that one. I think I'd like to be in a room with the powers that be, and they said, just open conversation. I won't slag them off too hard. Say, look, hands up everybody, what can we do to build and go forward? And I think that's with Gavin, what he's trying to push with the alliance of mental health and construction kind of, and I can see something like that's, yeah, hats off to him for pushing that one, because I think that could have some legs in bringing these people together that, quite frankly, at the moment aren't doing enough. So
I hope so, and he's not going to stop pushing anytime soon. He's on a mission, isn't he?
Yeah.
You all are, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
So hopefully something will come from that kind of the push.
Yeah,
from all the different angles.
Again, and I think it's one of those, in a different world of corporate lifestyles or money-making businesses, I think we will only feel justified, not when we make loads of money out of it, we'll be justified when we start seeing results. That's quite simple. As soon as you can... I dream of the day that suddenly it goes 507 last year, then maybe this year it goes to 506, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And then if it's 505, or then if we can get that back under 5, we're never going to make it 0. I get that, and it's a really strange world, and unfortunate that the world we live in, that's what it is. But if we can actually physically then start to see these stats improving, and knowing that we are all playing a part in it, no matter what organisation we come from, because it's got to be a collective effort. Because what works for me in construction sport isn't necessarily what someone that works for someone else. And I've always found that with a lot of stuff, really, that I'm never going to be out there saying I want 100% of the people behind us, because I understand that not everyone's into sport, not everyone's into hobbies. Some people just want to keep himself to himself. I'm getting more like that as my age goes on, actually. I like quiet weekends. Don't want to talk to no one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I talk during the week, Monday to Friday.
The more time you get to yourself, the better when you hit a certain age bracket, isn't it?
So I said that before, actually. We were speaking to some people and said, do you want to go meet these people? I was like, no, I don't. I've got enough friends. I've got enough people in my life. I don't need anyone else.
I've got an opportunity to do nothing, so I'm going to take it.
You're telling me like that Saturday night I can't sit indoors or curry and just watch crap on TV. I was like, no, just stop. Leave me alone.
That's perfectly going to bring me on to my final question for you, actually. I want to know what you get up to when you're not doing everything that you do regarding to mental health, regarding to construction sport, regarding to your podcast. Yeah. What do you personally do to unwind?
Personally, this is a good one, actually. We had this conversation a few times, that is, as well, because it's a dangerous world that we kind of operate in, I suppose, especially construction alone, but in the mental health side of things. We hear, and where our wings have spanned and the network's growing and see more and more people are coming out and talking about stuff, there's a serious thing, and sometimes we do go back to bed that night and go, shh. And there's been periods, we've done events and we've organised things over a few weeks, and I've had to say, me and the guys helping, can we just have a week off? This is too much, because there's been some stories, I'm sure that all the boys have hear it and see it day in, day out. But yeah, my big one, I really enjoy jogging on a treadmill. That's one. I've just got a spin bike as well now, so I've got to try a bit of that.
You've got one of them at home, haven't you?
Yes, have
That's
now. Yes, yeah, I have now. Yes, so yeah, well, I've got 2 young children as well. Obviously, they're the pinnacle of life. Really, they're the best things ever. And my dear lady at home, but it was just one of the things. If I go to the gym in the mornings, I have to prepare my bag the night before. I have to do this, we'll do that, and I like to be in the gym at 5:30 in the morning for an hour. Go on the treadmill for 60 minutes, and just jog. And podcasts on, YouTube on, anything on really, and then just find a pace I'm comfortable at and just run. And that helps me so much. I think a hell of a lot more in that time, and that helps me. But yeah, I don't work weekends. That is one thing I don't do anymore. I see what the railway world done to people working Saturday and Sundays. It's full of broken men. A lot of construction, the world is, unfortunately. So there's the odd things we have to do on the Saturdays maybe, but I really try not to if I can. Saturday and Sunday is strictly my family's time. I'm saying that I've got to go out the week after next. I've just got that signed off at home. That's a bit of a tricky one, but I really make sure that Saturday and Sunday I can have some downtime with the family really. But it's tough, and it is. And I've got nearly a 2-year-old and nearly a 5-year-old, and you go through all this during the week, and then to go home and shut off and get off of LinkedIn and get off social media and give all your attention to the kids and the missus is really hard. And I struggle. Yeah, I struggle. I think there's a lot of people out there who do, and it's just kind of, this world has become a 24/7.
It has.
Yeah,
I mean, because if that phone
yeah.
pings,
Yeah.
and you know it's LinkedIn,
Yeah.
I need to check it. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. It's there's something else, and there's this unfortunate addiction to kind of social media, I suppose, that we're all kind of, society has brought us into. But don't get me wrong, it's created so many opportunities, and I really try to see it for all the positives. And people say, oh, it's negative. I'm like, if you look at everything through a negative lens, you'll find negativity, won't you? If you go look at it positively, we'll find positives in it. But yeah, I really do it. The boy's getting to a good age now. He likes going out. We moved in September to a little, quiet little spot of the world, and we can get out and go take him on a walk. He doesn't do 100 miles yet, but he'll get there. My little girl, she's marching around and giving her orders. So to be honest, actually, one of the weekends I do as I'm told by my 1-year-old, pretty much. Yeah, so that's kind of where my life is at the moment. But yeah, that's it. Trying to find downtime. I just come back. Skiing's a big passion of mine again. We come back skiing a few weeks ago. That's awesome. Yeah, rugby. Now the walk's done. Rugby boots are going to go on for the end of the season. So we've got a match. I've got a match on the 1st of April. I've been asked to play on a memorial game, unfortunately, but I think I'm going to get them on sooner rather than later. But it hurts a bit more now. I'm getting older.
It will do.
It does hurt more. So, yeah, anything to shut the mind off and enjoy. I do like a couple of beers at the weekend. It's been known a couple during the week, but that is my shut-off time, really. Family and a bit of sport. I'd like to say watch TV and that, but I can't. All I get to watch on TV is Bluey and Coco Melon and whatever my daughter wants to watch, really. And my boy, Marvel. That's quite cool.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, exactly that. So no, yeah, it's kind of low key. I like to sit in, have a curry and a couple of beers, and then nothing too hectic at the weekends anymore. Can't handle it. Hangover and kids don't mix.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Hangovers don't just last for one day.
No, yeah.
It's like 3 to 4 days.
And that's what I get with the kids as well. Like, say to people, at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6:30. Well, our kids are good. My boy is always 7:30. The girl's between 6:45 and 7:30. But they're 100 mile an hour from just the second they wake, isn't it? And it's just like bang on you. And then there's no like, right, should we wake up, have a cup of coffee, and ease our way into this day? It's just smash. Dad up, wallop. I woke up yesterday morning with just a little finger right between the eyes, and it scared the living hell out of me. And, yeah, like, Daddy, I want to watch Bluey. I was like, okay, mate, come then. Downstairs if you want. And if you say no, then they kick off at that time in the morning, don't you? Oh. You don't want to give in, but at the same time, I can't handle an argument. It's not even 7 o'clock yet, and we're having a tear up about Bluey. But yeah, got a couple of feisty characters indoors, put it that way. I don't know where they get that from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So if you had a closing kind of statement that you'd want to say directly into the camera,
Yeah.
anything that we've spoke about, what would be your kind of closing statement?
No, just, yeah, what number does this construction industry have to hit for the industry to actually pause a second, stop, put their hands up and say, we need to do something differently and we need to change this, because at the moment we're marching on with it as if nothing's really changing, and it's not, and things need to change before the figures just rise and rise and rise, I think. So it's going to be a team effort. I can't do it on my own. No, I don't think any other organisations can do it on their own, as much as they might want to look like they are, but it can't be done on its own. So let's put the power to the people at the very, very top and draw some support, I think. Change the way we work and stop watching families break, shall we say, in many different ways. No, thank you for your time, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
The North East is quite friendly.
Yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, I'm still here. I've still got my watch, my vans.
It's still here. Wheels are still on the van.
Yeah.
But we'll go and check that in a minute.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be getting a bus home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next time you've got something going on, if you've got any walks or anything out of the ordinary, let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll come and get some footage of it as well.
Yeah, spot on.
Awesome.
Happy days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cameraman.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. Wow.